I just thought everybody knows how to make bacon and eggs.
It's going to make a beautiful salad.
Oh, see, I put them off where the coals are. I'm making a potato salad that has no carbs in it. I'm so excited to do this today. I'm making rack of pork, and I'm famous for it in our neighborhood and with a lot of our friends. And I think they want me to fix rack of pork when I have them over. And you know, you want to try to have diversity, but it's so good. And once you do this, you're going to want to have it a lot, especially for company. So first of all, it looks like this. It's got 8 legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could, I buy this at Costco, and you can have Safeway or ask your butcher to do rack of pork. It's like rack of lamb, only it's a pig. And you could, if you have 4 in your family and you're not having company, just cut it down the middle and freeze it. We're having company, so I'm doing all 8 legs here. Actually, they're ribs. And what it really is a pork chop, the loin part. But when you cook meat with the bones in, the bones add way more flavor to the meat. And so you get this extraordinarily wonderful flavor. And that's plus the outside that I'm going to show you what I do. Now, rack of pork, it might sound like it's really expensive, but this roast was about $23. That works out about $3 a serving. So it's not that expensive. Like if you had steak, or rack of lamb is more. And then you get these little teeny tiny pieces. The company gets a nice big slab of pork, and they eat every bit of it. They suck the bones dry. Now, I don't want to scare you, but there are certain things you need to do when you're working with pork. You need to wash your hands before you do any other foods, because it's just really wise to do that. And so if you're working with bacon or any kind of pork, wash your hands before you go to, say, make a salad or something. Are you going to think this is a cheap way to show off my hand soap? I use it, so I have to have it and put it on the camera. You should use it too. Now I'm going to make a topping for the pork, and it's going to stick in the refrigerator for 24 hours. So our company's coming tomorrow night. And the topping will also be like a marinade. It'll soak into the meat too. And then it's a crisp topping, and it's low carb. We're going to start with 2 cups of Parmesan cheese. 1/2 cup of almond flour, 1 cup of hazelnuts. We live in the Northwest, and we grow hazelnuts really good. And so I like to use things from the Northwest. So that's a cup of hazelnuts, just chopped up. If hazelnuts are too expensive in your area, you could use pecans or almonds. I wouldn't use walnuts. They have too distinctive a flavor for me, but it's a personal thing. Now, I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. It's about all the sugar we get in a month. And then a 1/3 cup of chopped garlic. That's about 10 cloves. So it's really garlicky, and it's really good. Pork doesn't have a whole lot of taste, and the garlic really helps. 10 cloves may sound like a lot, and 1/3 of a cup looks like a lot, but when it's mixed in with all the ingredients and after it bakes, you don't have a real stringent garlic taste. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of Penzeys Country French vinaigrette. It's supposed to be made, you use it for making salads. I don't. I love it on meats. Then I'm going to do pepper, 8 wanks. 9 wanks. Lawry's, about 1/2 teaspoon. And I'm going to do a little lemon pepper. I love Penzeys lemon pepper. It's really good. It's fresh, and I don't know what they do, but it's good. About 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to mix that all up, so it's all mixed together evenly. It's really important to get it really mixed up good, and it probably takes about a minute. Next, I'm going to add coconut oil that I've melted because it's hard. It looks like Crisco sort of before you melt it. And before I do that, I'm going to take out, and this is really a nice thing to do, take out about a cup of this. Yeah, about a cup. And I'll show you what we'll do with this later. This is a little over a quarter cup of coconut oil melted. I'm going to mix that up. And you can see it's all starting to stick together. And that's what we're going to put over the pork. Now I rinsed the pork off and dried it with a few paper towels so it's all ready to have its little coat put on. And I think you have to get down and dirty with this. I have to use my hands. You just start pressing it to the meat. It'll start falling off, but that's all right. What falls off will just soak up some of the juices when the pork cooks, and you can just drizzle it over the top after you've cut your meat up. The coconut oil hardens, especially when you put it in the refrigerator, and this will get nice and hard once it's in there for 24 hours. So the quarter cup of brown sugar is about 50 carbs, and we're dividing that by 8 people. So each person's getting about 6 carbs of sugar in this dish. A potato, one of those little red potatoes, is 27 carbs. So we're really not doing too bad. So now I'm going to refrigerate this roast, and it'll marinate all the juice, all of that garlic and seasonings are going to go into the meat. I put plastic on it so that it'll stay moist in there. That's good. So that's ready. And when you cook it, it goes in a 350 oven for an hour and a half. I've probably cooked a half a dozen of these, and the way I cook it, it's always juicy and tender, always. I'm going to melt about a half a teaspoon of coconut oil in this little frying pan. So here's the cup of the covering that I made, topping, that I did. And now I've got a frying pan with coconut oil in here, medium-high heat, and I'm just going to put this in there. We're just going to cook this. It'll start. It's got the cheese in there and the almond flour and the nuts. And we're going to make just a little hors d'oeuvre pancake. And what it does is give your guests just a slight hint of what's coming for dinner. With the sugar in here, you want to watch this because it'll burn faster than any of the other ingredients. You don't want this to burn. So you could turn it down a little. I had it medium-high. I've turned it to a lower heat. Okay, we're going to flip her. There we go. My recipe that I gave you is for the rack of pork, but some of them are bigger than others, and I could tell when it was all mixed up and the size of this rack that it was going to be too much. So I held out the cup, which was exactly the amount. And then I thought, I know that you can fry this and it'll make a nice little triangle hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to cut this into little pizza triangles. It's going to be very crunchy. It's all nutty and cheesy. And actually, it's crummy too, but that's okay. Now look at these little things. This will make an amazing hors d'oeuvre. Or you could break it up and use it as croutons in a salad. Oh yeah, that would be good in a salad. But it's also just as a little, and your guests will say, what is this? I'll say, I just whipped it up.
Adore who you are. Adore where you are.
Adore who you're with.